Assalamu alaikum. Your Eminence, my parliamentary colleagues, Jason Clare, Concetta Fierravanti-Wells, Richard Di Natale. Obviously, every election I hope to win. That's how it works. That's unsurprising at a gathering like this. But I really want a change of government this time like I never have before. Because I believe the last 3 years have been the ugliest 3 years I have ever seen in Australian politics. And while I have the deepest respect for each of the different members of Parliament who are here from different parties, I simply want to talk in an unvarnished way about how bad I believe things have been of late. Now, normally I would have the argument on all the other policy issues, and they still hold. I want there to be a change of government because I want to undo the cuts to education. I want there to be a change of government because I want to undo the cuts to health. I want to undo the cuts to penalty rates. I want to make sure that the NDIS is used as something there to service people with disabilities, not as a way of underwriting a future surplus. But there is another layer which frustrates me deeply and was so predictable. Many of you now, throughout different parts of Australia, will have people coming to you wanting to suddenly be friends again and pretend that the last few years didn't happen. Let me explain why I probably sound more frustrated than I have when I've addressed you previously. It is only in the last few years that the Minister for Immigration stood on the floor of Parliament and described it as being a mistake for people to have been brought to this country if they were Lebanese Muslim. That man was not sacked, he was since promoted from Minister to Immigration to Minister for Home Affairs. Twice we have had elections where in the lead up to the election, no one has said that they were going to try to change the Racial Discrimination Act to allow more forms of hate speech. And on each of those occasions, after nothing was said before, once we got to the Parliament, the legislation was on the table. No one told us before the last election that there would be a citizenship test that would demand university-level English for people to be able to make a pledge to this country. And yet we were presented by that. No one expected Fraser Anning to give the sorts of speeches he gave in the Parliament. But once he gave that final solution speech, no member of Parliament should have gone up, shaken his hand and congratulated him. No one. And yet they did. I accept that there were some people who had no idea what Pauline Hanson meant when she moved the motion that it's okay to be white. Some people didn't know the history of it as a white supremacist slogan. But there is a usual hint. If there is a resolution about race moved by Pauline Hanson, it probably has a problem. We are seeing right now the Liberal Party, the Liberal National Party in Queensland preferencing One Nation. We were told by senior members of the Liberal Party that the One Nation Party was more sophisticated than it used to be. Well, all they have done is instead of saying swamped by Asians, they now say swamped by Muslims. And if you preference them, you help to put them into Parliament. And every party that regards itself as a party of government should be putting them at the end, not at the front. There have been other issues of broken promises on family visas. There's been a whole series of issues, but all of this that I've described hasn't just been something that's happened inside the Parliament. You have felt how that unravels into the community. You know that when people give a normalising of hate speech and of prejudice, it affects how people treat each other at work, at school, on public transport, in shopping centres, and it must stop. No one has asked me whether I condemn what happened in Christchurch. The reason they don't ask me is because they know it's nothing to do with me. Can I say I know that terrorism is nothing to do with you? Terrorism has no religion, and we have to stop having a government that gives licence to people who then build on these attitudes with hate.